I did my presentation on Artemisia Gentileschi. She was born by the name of Artemisia Gentileschi Lamy. She was born in Rome on July 8, 1953. Although her birth certificate says she was born in 1950, nobody is quite sure why this is. Beginning of her life, she learned her art from her father in his workshop. She showed much more potential than her brothers. Her father's work was inspired by Caravaggio, and Artemisia followed in his footsteps. She could tell that she was getting good, and she had to avoid the brainwashing of her talents. She gained great respect for her works. Artemisia was raped by a man by the name of Agostino Tassi. Tassi was working with her father to decorate the vaults of Casino del Muse inside the Palazzi Ballavicini Raspacio in Rome. Artemisia's father hired Agostino to privately tutor Artemisia, and this led to the incident. Florentine period. She was the first woman accepted in the Academy of the Arts of Drawing. She maintained good relations with most respected artists of her time, such as Allori, and was able to garner the favors and protection of these influential people, starting Cosimo II de' Medici. She was esteemed by Michelangelo Buonarroti, the younger nephew of the great Michelangelo. Busy with the construction of Casa Buonarroti to celebrate his noble relative, he asked Artemisia, along with other Florentine artists, to contribute a painting for the ceiling. Artemisia was assigned the allegory of inclination and natural talent, presented in the form of a nude young woman holding a compass. Notable works from this period include the conversion of Magdalene in the collection of Wadsworth Athenaeum Museum of Art, a self-portrait as a lute player, and Judith and her maidservant, now in the Palazzo Pitti. Despite her success, financial excesses were borne by her for her husband led to problems with creditors, and she fell out with her husband. She returned without him to Rome in 1621. Artemisia arrived in Rome the same year her father, Orazio, departed for Genoa. While there is no evidence that this happened, some believe that Artemisia followed her father to Genoa, but most evidence supports the notion that Artemisia remained in Rome, trying to find a home to raise her child. It appears that Artemisia also was associated with the Academy of Deciosi. During the same time, she became associated with Cassiano dal Pazzo. In 1625, there was a drawing of her right hand in black and red chalk by a French artist named Pierre Delminster II. Despite her artistic reputation, her strong personality, and her numerous good relations, Rome was not as profitable as she had hoped. Her style, tone of defiance, and strength relaxed. She painted less intense works. For instance, her second version of Susanna and the Elders in 1622. The absence of sufficient documentation makes it difficult to follow Artemisia's movement in this period. Works from these years included the Portrait of Galifanier, the Sleeping Venus, the Honthorst Trophime Bigot, and many others in Rome were famous, as they're in the Ahasuerus. She moved to Naples in 1630, which is a city rich with workshops and art lovers. The Neapolitan debut of Artemisia is represented by the Annunciation in the Capodinte Museum. She remained in Naples for the remainder of her career with the expectation of a brief trip to London and some other journeys. In Naples, for the first time, Artemisia started working on paintings in a cathedral. Artemisia joined her father in London at the court of Charles I of England, where Orazio became court painter and received the important job of decorating a ceiling in the Queen's house. Father and daughter were working together once again, although helping her father was not the only reason for travel to London. Charles I had invited her to his court, and it was not possible to refuse. The fame of Artemisia probably intrigued Charles I, and it's not a coincidence that his collection including a painting of great suggestion. Orazio, Artemisia's father, suddenly died in 1639, and Artemisia had her own commissions to fulfill after her father's death, although there are no known works assignable with certainty to this period. It is known that Artemisia had already left England by 1642 when the Civil War was just starting. As Artemisia grew older, her work became more graceful and feminine, beside the physical act. Artemisia was once thought to have died in 1652 or 1653. However, there's evidence that she was still accepting commissions in 1654. Some have speculated she died in the devastating plague that swept Naples in 1656, but nobody really knows. Here are some of her paintings. Judith slating Holofernes. This was completed between 1614 and 1620. The work shows the scene of Judith beheading Holofernes, common in art since the early Renaissance as a part of the power of women, showing women triumphing over powerful men. It's relentlessly physical, of wide spurts of blood, to the energy of two women just performing this beheading act. The allegory of painting is also known as La Pittura. It was 38 inches by 29 inches. The painting demonstrates rare feminist themes from a time when women seldom held jobs, let alone were well known for them. As there were Ahasuerus, it's just another good one of showing Ezra appearing before the king, and she fainted in his presence, but her request found favor. The portrait here, she applies the chiaroscuro to the left side of his face, the side on which his sword is strapped. It's largely ceremonial. Thank you.